The following podcast is an 8122 Productions podcast in association with Hashtag 607 Podcast, Next Wave, Alternate Reality Radio. For more information, please go to 8122productions.com.
Coming to you from 8122 Production Studios in the heart of the 607, this is Horror Zone 607. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And remember, you can always join the conversation using hashtag HZ607. Welcome to Horror Zone 607, the podcast where we talk all things horror and bring you the week's biggest horror movie news. I'm your host, Mike C., and it is now week number 2 of October, Horror Movie Month, and we just couldn't be any happier to be in our favorite month of the year. We got so much to talk about, so many cool things we're going to talk about this week, but before I do that, what kind of a show would I have if I didn't introduce a certain somebody to y'all? You know him. I know him. His thoughts inspired every happy painting that Bob Ross ever painted. Please welcome Rich.
That's right. I'm a big fan of the happy little trees and the happy sun and the happy grass and all of it. And Bob Ross was awesome.
You make me happy just sitting here with you. So it's always a pleasure week in and week out.
I wonder if Bob Ross painted the happy little pumpkin that is on the Halloween poster.
You know, we were just talking about this right before we went on air. You pointed out something to me. Now, I fancy myself as one of the biggest Halloween fans, the original movie that's ever lived. And I didn't know something.
Yes, there's a face on the hand that's holding the knife in the original Halloween poster. And it was purposely put there. I found that out through a list of things that you might not know about movie posters, and now I cannot unsee it. So if you're looking at the original Halloween poster, the one that has the pumpkin with the butcher knife in a hand, and next to it says the night he came home. If you look at the hand holding the knife, you can see in the hand, you'll see 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Yeah. They said it's a screaming mouth, and I just went by what they said. Mike doesn't think it's really screaming, and I don't really think it's... Mouth open. It looks like they're a little bit in pain or whatever. It kind of doesn't look like a normal face, but yeah, it's pretty awesome. And now I can't unsee it because I was told about it.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
It was a simpler time.
Think about it. It took me until I was like 36 years old before I knew that existed.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
41 for me.
I was going to say, and I've been a fan of this movie for a long, long time.
Yeah, this movie came out 2 months after I was born. Yeah. Can you believe that?
Yeah, exactly.
Little baby Mike C. just screaming away, filling my diaper.
I've been a fan of the Halloween series since I was at least 10 years old.
Yeah.
So I've seen that movie at least from 10 on. So it took me 26 years of being a fan of this film to know that. So, hey, we all learn stuff. So if you guys didn't know that, check it out. Trust me, it's there.
Well, I appreciate this. Yeah. This is something new. You learn something new every day. They always say that. So... we got so much to talk about this week. We got a few things for the news, kind of a light week for the news, but we got a few items, so we'll discuss that. You came over to my house on Sunday, and we watched a couple of movies, one of which was a Shudder exclusive.
Yes.
An Australian movie by the name of The Furies.
The Furies, which I originally thought was called The Furries, and I think I even said that last week on this podcast. I call it The Furries. I'm sorry, it's The Furies. But
that's okay.
In segment 2, we are going to talk all about that. And I'll even tell you what the other movie we were watching was, and the reason I was over there was for the other movie, and then we watched this movie as well. We won't review that other movie, but we'll get to that later. It's
we made a big mistake, as I informed you afterwards in a text message as soon as you left. We'll talk about that too.
We'll talk about all that, but we'll have to watch that other one too.
And of course,
talking horror this week.
Yeah, talking horror is a big week. I kind of previewed it last week.
Halloween Fest kicks off.
Yes.
Our 3 weeks Halloween Fest, all about the Halloween movies. Forgotten Halloween's up first. If you're following us on Instagram and Twitter, Twitter at HorrorZone607, or if you're following us on Facebook, HorrorZone607. If you're not, what are you waiting for? Follow us and like us on all those platforms. You would have seen the nice little graphic I had put up for Halloween Fest. It was a lot of fun. So we can't wait to dive into that. And also, we're going to be reading some. There was a Twitter poll.
Yeah, we put up a poll.
If you follow us on Twitter,
nicely.
We're gonna tell you what won and what came in what place, and then we're also going to discuss our stuff too, and maybe read some of those comments, because there were some pretty good comments on the Twitter post.
Yeah, there was. I'm excited for all of this, so I think it was a great idea. We kind of brainstormed this together, and what better way than to discuss the Halloween movies by breaking it down week by week for 3 weeks and just doing a little retrospective on it.
And then of course you have 2 more weeks to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trust me, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll announce what the second week is about. I mean, we announced them all last week,
right?
But we will remind you what it is, and then of course there will also be a Twitter poll up.
Yes, there will be
tomorrow.
I'll be voting.
When actually, by the time you hear this podcast, it'll probably be up, because I'll probably put it up in time to get it, something started, getting something going.
So I'm not going to spoil anything, but I know what my pick of most hated Halloween movie is. You'll never guess.
No, well, we'll get to
Nobody would ever guess.
We'll get to that later.
That's for later. So, but yeah, let's kick off the news for this week. Like I said, it's kind of a light week, but we'll start off with box office news. A couple movies going really strong. There was a new animated Addams Family movie that came out, and it started off pretty well. Opened, I believe, at second, if I remember reading right, at the box office. Made $30 million. Not a bad little start.
Not bad at all. It made $30 million. I haven't seen it yet. I did see it. I thought it was a cool trailer when I saw the trailer. I do know my goddaughter enjoyed it quite a bit, because she did go to see it. So I'm looking forward to see it. But of course, it was number 2, because number 1 is the same movie that was number 1 last week.
Yes.
And that is Joker, making another astounding $55 million domestically.
Yeah, domestically here, another $123 million worldwide as well. This movie is now up to $544 million worldwide in 2 weeks.
Yeah, man,
over $500 million in 2 weeks.
It's the real deal. It's a great movie. If you listen to 3 Fat Nerds podcast, when it first came out, me and Ron had seen it. Derek had not seen it yet. Me and Ron have both we went in the middle on the nerd scale. So on my scale of 10 that we use here on Horror Zone, I don't know if I don't remember if I said it or not. I would put this movie, and I'm going to say why. I would put this movie at a 7, and the reason why is because I didn't like the political overtones. But with that being said, I would go see it, because you might still love it. And it's the one time that I rated something a little lower than what people were thinking, with the caveat that, hey, you should go see it for yourself. By the way, the performance from Joaquin Phoenix in this movie is second to none. It's a once in a lifetime performance. If he does not win the Oscar, I will riot, because he's phenomenal in this movie.
Well, if Heath Ledger won,
phenomenal.
Heath Ledger won Best Supporting Actor for what he did.
He should win Best Actor for this. Trust me, this
Phoenix
is
should probably
amazing.
do it, yeah.
This the performance of performance. Because we don't want to talk spoilers, and we don't talk about this. If you want to hear spoilers, 3 Fat Nerds podcast this past week, the episode 79, I do believe it's called the New Era Narrative. It is we have at the end at our ramblings, we did a little special bit, so it was like a half-hour longer show because of it, and we actually talked spoilers that week about it. Okay. And so we had like a little spoiler kind of filled conversation about it at the end, just so that way if anybody didn't want to hear it, we warned and everything. So if you want to hear it, tune into there. You can hear spoilers here. I'm not going to tell the spoilers, but I will say this. I think as an actor-to-actor performance, Joaquin Phoenix had a better performance than Heath Ledger. However, Heath Ledger's the better Joker, because Joaquin Phoenix really wasn't playing the Joker. He was playing Arthur Fleck.
Yeah.
So,
well, I got to get to see it. It's one of those things I still haven't gotten around to. I've been busy, so I'm hoping sometime soon. But there's another movie coming out this weekend that I know I'm excited to see. I think you're excited to see it. And that would be the long anticipated sequel to Zombieland, titled Zombieland Double Tap.
That's right. I'm definitely excited to see it. I don't know if I'll have time, because obviously I will be at ScareCon this weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I'll have time to see it this weekend, but hopefully by next week sometime I'll get to see that movie.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get around to it at some point this weekend. I have extra work that I have to do with my job, my primary job, so unfortunately I won't be attending ScareCon like I anticipated doing, which is a bummer, but I know you'll be filling in those shoes for Horror Zone 607.
Myself and Derek will be in Rochester, New York, at the Rochester Riverside Hotel for ScareCon on the 18th, 19th, and 20th, so this weekend. Tickets are still available, of course, all weekend. You can go to scarecon.com to get advance tickets, or you can buy them at the door. There's tons of great people there. You'll hear an ad for it in our first break. I'll just throw that that out there. You'll hear an ad for Scaricon in the first break. It'll be the last time you hear that ad for this year because obviously it's coming up this weekend. Making a good push toward it. Myself and Derek will be doing 11 panels between the two of us.
Holy cow.
Whether it's together or whether it's separate because they're celebrity panels. And I am super stoked and excited because I have my dream is coming true. I will be the moderator hosting the panel with Doug Bradley, Pinhead himself. So the Hellraiser panel I will be hosting. And I will be hosting another panel that I'll be talking about in the second segment because it ties into why I was at your house.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely. Can't wait for it this weekend. It just kind of throws me off from going to see Zombieland, but I'm hoping to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, you'll be having fun. This movie looks like it's a lot of fun. Everybody's going to be having fun this weekend, but me. So
you'll be having fun.
I'll be having fun in a different way.
After you get out of work.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about, this kind of got announced today. Not really anything huge news-wise, but Dr. Sleep is coming. We know it's coming. The big sequel to The Shining, and they finally revealed the runtime for the new movie. It's actually going to be 6 whole whopping minutes longer than The Shining.
So yes, The Shining clocked in at 2 hours and 26 minutes, and Dr. Sleep will clock in at 2 hours 32 minutes. So it's a 6-minute longer film than The Shining, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
It's one of those movies that you have to have time to tell, and it puts it right in the ballpark. So I feel like I still have hope for it.
Yeah,
I still have hope for it. I got to be honest, I wasn't a fan of the book.
Okay.
But with that being said, that's also because I'm more of a fan of The Shining Kubrick style than I am of The Shining from Stephen King. And I know some people will think that's blasphemy, but I'm sorry. That's just me. But this movie is promising. Mike Flanagan is promising that it is the perfect mix between a sequel of the movie The Shining and the
sequel
book.
of the book.
So hopefully It has enough to the Kubrick effect that I enjoy it more.
Yeah, I'm hoping the same. I mean, it looks cool. I do like all of the scenes where he kind of goes back to the Overlook Hotel and stuff like that, so that's kind of cool. Again, I've mentioned this before. I'm not a huge fan. I've never read the book. I've just kind of heard what goes on with it. Wasn't a big fan of what I heard. Again, I'm a huge fan of the Kubrick movie. I've never read the book The Shining either. I'm afraid to at this point because I don't know that I would enjoy it as much as it's supposedly a classic, or it is a classic, I should say. So I don't know. We'll see. It sounds like it's a long run time, but if it's if it's a coherent story, it should be fine. I have nothing but faith in Mike Flanagan. Everything he's done has been perfect. So I'm excited for it. Absolutely. The next thing I want to talk about real quick, there was an interview this past weekend at Monster Mania 44. Now, let's just get something straight here. If you fans have been tuning in and week out for the last year, you already know this. Rich, you already know this. I have a little bit of a crush on a certain celebrity. Her name is Crystal Reed.
Oh, absolutely.
She's a very lovely young lady. Who's the one person that I have a bigger crush on than her? The only person I have a bigger crush on than her. Somebody I've had a crush on since 1988. Danielle Harris.
Ooh.
Danielle Harris was at Monster Mania over the weekend, and one of the questions that she was asked was, are there going to be any more sequels to the Hatchet films? So as you know, there was like a surprise Hatchet that came out last year called Victor Crowley. It was all right. It was part of the Hatchet series. It is what it was. But she was asked if there's going to be any more sequels, and she actually came out and said that although she hasn't been notified of anything, she's had a conversation with Adam Green in the past, and there's supposed to be 2 new sequels. Not 1, but 2 new Hatchet sequels coming out. She said that they're supposed to be filming them back-to-back, so we might be getting more Victor Crowley.
Well, okay, well, I'm in for that, and I'm always in for seeing Danielle Harris in more movies as well.
Absolutely. I would leave my wife for her if I had one.
No, I was going to say, that's going to be easy for you to do because you're not married.
I'm not married. So
ladies, if you're out there and you look like Danielle Harris, or if you are Danielle Harris, Mike is single and available for your lovin'.
Well, I have a girlfriend.
Call 555-555-5532.
Yes. Yeah, you thought it was going to be 5555, but it is not.
No, 5532.
It is not. Just a $9.99 per minute.
Or you could call 867-5309.
Yes. Or 727.
Yeah,
never mind.
That's more of a local 607 humor.
Yeah, we don't want anybody getting any pizza orders or anything like that. So last thing that was in the news for the moment here. There's actually a developing story that I'm seeing here, but there's a new fan film. We like to talk about fan films on this show. We love talking about fan films on this show. There's been a ton of Friday the 13th fan films that are being made and have come out recently. Well, what's been missing from this? There hasn't been any Nightmare on Elm Street ones that we're aware of, any big ones, any notable ones anyway. So it broke today that there's actually a new fan film that is funding currently on Indiegogo that is going to be a direct sequel to Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Now, it's going to be called Dylan's New Nightmare, and it's going to basically star Miko Hughes, who played little young Dylan in the original movie. He's all grown up now, and he's about to face Freddy again.
Really?
So trailer's up right now on bloodydisgusting.com. I actually watched it right before we went on the air, and it started out a little cheesy, and it was actually pretty cool. It's just a little teaser trailer, but I dug it.
And of course, if you want to back that, you can go on to Indiegogo and look up Dylan's Nightmare.
Yeah.
And then you can back it on Indiegogo. I'm sure there's some cool... We didn't look up the Indiegogo yet, but I'm sure there's some cool perks and bonuses to back in this movie. I'm a big fan of going out and looking at the fan films in the Indiegogos. So
right.
I'll definitely be checking this out myself. I had a long day today, so you got to see the trailer. I did not see it yet. So.
Yeah, it's real quick. It's about a minute and a half long.
Just being transparent.
Yeah.
But I will definitely check it out and also check out their stretch goals because I always like seeing what they're offering for the perks, if you will.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool. It's kind of cool to see Miko Hughes back in action. It feels like it's been over 20 years since that kid's been in anything.
I remember him mostly from Kindergarten Cop.
Yes.
Because that's one of the greatest lines in all of cinema.
Yes.
Girls have vaginas and boys have penises.
Yes. Yeah, it was. I learned a lot from that movie.
Yes, it was great. That was. If you guys do not know the legend that is Kindergarten Cop, I know it's not a horror film, but it's still a damn good movie.
It's horrifying. Are you kidding
It's
me?
horrifyingly good, you mean?
Yeah, it is. All right, now I said that was the last news story, but it's not. It is not, because it is everybody's favorite time of the week. It is time for Halloween Kills casting news.
Hey, Mike. Wait a minute. There was no Halloween Kills casting news this week.
Oh, that's right. There isn't.
Well, now that concludes Halloween Kills casting news. All right, so that means we're at the end of the news cycle this week. If you want to say, I know I kind of went over them quickly earlier, but if you want to say anything to us, let us know. Join the conversation. Talk about anything we talked about or anything we're going to talk about. We always love hearing from you guys. It is simple. Hit us up on Facebook, Horror Zone 607. Share that page, like that page, rate and review that page. Help us grow. And also, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Horror Zone 607. It should be noted that the professor runs our Instagram, so we don't know what that guy's up to. So
I don't
disclaimer.
know. Can we trust that guy?
We can, but disclaimer, it might not be, you might go there. But for Twitter, if you want to join the polls and stuff, it's on Twitter. But for all the social medias, you should hook us up with a hashtag HZ607. And of course, as you heard in the beginning of the show, hit us up on 8122productions.com so to get your fix and find out what we're doing, where we're going, all the cool new stuff we're doing.
He's a mad scientist, that guy.
Yes, he is. He is. But he's definitely on our Instagram. So go follow him. I know that he posted a horror novel yesterday, I do believe. So check it out.
He's an intelligent guy, that
he
guy.
He is.
Really is a professor.
That's the name, the professor.
Professor of higher education.
That's right. Maybe one day he will join us again.
I hope so.
One day.
I ask him all the time. He's busy teaching.
Maybe we should get a soundbite for him. We can just do like, hey, what do you think about that, professor? And we'll just...
Oh.
Uh-huh.
I like that.
Great. Although he might not like how we use it because we might use it in things that we know that he hates.
That's true.
So, hey, professor, how do you feel about the collection? Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, they don't like those movies. I can tell you that.
All right. So, with that being said, though, we're going to take a break. I already spoiled the little surprise. This break will feature our ad for Scaricon coming up this weekend. Once again, it'll be the last time we run this ad on the show because it's coming up this weekend. But listen to that. When we come back, we got an awesome horror movie review segment. Join us October 18th, 19th, and 20th in Rochester, New York at the Rochester Riverside Hotel for Scaricon. This year we have a ton of great celebrity guests, including Barbara Crampton, Felissa Rose, Ashley Lawrence, David Naughton, the cast of Terrifier, the 40th anniversary of Phantasm, and of course Pinhead himself. Doug Bradley will all be there, all of them plus so much more. There will also be vendors and all such sorts of other great entertainment going on that weekend in Rochester, New York. For all tickets and other information about Scaricon, go to Scaricon.com, and we'll see you in Rochester on October 18th, 19th, and 20th.
And welcome back to The Zone. So this past weekend, I had my good friend here, Rich, over to Mikasa. You know, we like to hang out and watch movies from time to time. Horror movies, of course, because that's what we do here on the show. And the first thing that we did watch, we did a double feature. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun. First movie up was the legendary 40-year-old Phantasm.
That's right.
And this is kind of noteworthy because there's a little convention that we've been talking about. You just heard a plug for it. It's called Scaricon. It's going to be in Rochester, New York this coming weekend. And you're going to be moderating the panel that's going to be celebrating the 40th anniversary reunion of all of the living cast members.
That's right. I'm going to be the moderator, host, if you will, for the Phantasm 40th anniversary reunion panel. So this is every living member of the original Phantasm is going to be there. Believe it or not, every living member, of course, I think the only member, of course, we cannot have, of course, is the tall man, because Angus Scrimm is no longer with us, which sucks, because I, from all accounts, I never got to meet him, but I've heard he is a super awesome human being, so it sucks that he's no longer with us, but everybody else is going to be there. So it was kind of cool, so we took a trip down memory road, just to kind of get my, I haven't seen the movie in a long time. Wanted to kind of have, something in my head, so when I'm, doing this, I could, have it there. And so we're not going to talk about the review of that movie this week, because I'm going to save that, because we'll tie that in next week. Because next week, this segment won't be like a horror review segment. We're going to talk about my time at Scaricon, because a lot of the celebrity panels, we can't record there. It's not able to record. So you're going to have to, I'm going to come back and tell you guys stories. So at least you guys will get to hear stories firsthand from me on the panels. You get to hear about the weekend at Scaricon. If you were there, you can relive the moments in your head. If you weren't there, you'll get to relive it through me.
Right.
And so it's going to be a lot of fun. And in the process, we will talk about Phantasm, the movie, a little bit during that, because I feel like some of it will tie in.
Right.
But I don't want to bury the lead there. But you did say we made it a double feature, and you did make me a very nice cup of hot cider.
Yes, it was delicious. It was from the wonderful Wegmans grocery store.
Yes. I was very happy and comfortable as we watched the second movie, and we talked about it earlier. It was a movie that just came out this year. It's a Shudder exclusive. It's from Australia, and you remember we love ourselves Shudder exclusives from Australia, because we watched Boar not that long ago, and we told you about it. But this one was called The Furies.
Yes,
not to be confused with The Furies, which I thought it was called.
Yes, you did go into it thinking it was that, and I looked at the title. I was like, this is The Furies.
And then we looked up what The Furies means.
Yes.
Because in Greek mythology, the Furies was a vengeful women.
Yes.
And this movie sticks to that, because honestly, the lead character, definitely a Fury.
Yeah,
definitely.
You come across them in the game, the original series of God of War.
Yes,
so there are Furies. Yes. So pretty cool movie.
Yeah. Once again, Shudder exclusive, hitting it out of the park. Let's just dive in and kind of talk about it. First of all, it opens it's kind of like The Condemned.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're getting let out of these boxes, and they're on this property. They can't go past a certain boundary, because then their heads are the stuff gets pumped into them, and then they can see through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, it does open up with a kill, though. Before we find that boxing, it opens up with a pretty brutal kill. There's guys chasing down this girl, and he's about to kill her, and then this other masked man comes out of nowhere and slays the other guy.
Yeah, he slays the other masked killer.
Yeah, it doesn't make it, and then he carries the girl away. It makes no sense. And then, we go to the thing, and you find out you can see through other eyes. And I called it early in the movie.
Yeah,
I called it early that this was going to be, the girls were going to be paired up with the killers. So every girl, which was called a beauty, there was 6 of them, I do believe. Beauties 1 through 6 was corresponded with a beast.
Yes.
So there was Beauty 1 through 6 and Beast 1 through 6. So if you were Beauty 2, you were with Beast 2. And you had Beast 2 was your protector. Had to protect you, because if you die, the Beast also dies.
Yes, in gruesome fashion.
Very gruesome fashion.
Don't say how, because we don't want to spoil that.
Right. Mind you, they are wearing the most gruesome costumes.
Yeah.
Some of them more gruesome than others. Like the guy that was literally wearing a body on himself, including the full backside of somebody.
Yes, yeah, he had somebody's hiney on him. That happened.
He also ripped some chick's arms off.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty brutally, too. He reminded me a lot of Leatherface, but you had a lot of other cool ones in there. So, yeah, just a really visceral, brutal movie.
You go through the movie, you find out a whole bunch of stuff. I don't want to. This is going to be kind of spoiler free, like light spoiler.
Yeah,
because I've already said a couple things, but light spoiler. You go through the movie. The girls are trying to get together. Who can you trust? Who can't you trust? It's kind of gives you all up an edge. Jealousy plays a part. Fear plays a part. Friendships get made and broken.
I was an emotional roller coaster watching this movie.
Believe it or not, it was. I'm not even joking. This was actually a very fun movie. Very good. Very slasher. Good body count. Good kills. Very brutal. Like, they did not shy away from any blood or violence.
No.
Lots of brutality in this movie.
The best I can describe, I think you described it, or somebody else described it from something you looked at. It was basically like a slasher movie meets the Hunger Games.
Yes. It was Halloween meets Hunger Games. That was the tagline from the box. Well, a critic wrote it.
Right.
And it was a tagline they used from a critic. And I don't think they were wrong. It was very slasher-esque. Brutal kills.
Yeah.
Brutal kills. It has really good atmosphere. They're in this secluded area, presumably in the Australian outback.
Yeah.
And they're trapped there. They can't get out because of these things. You find out that they have implants in their eyes.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I mean, I figured that out. You'll figure that out right away. When she gets out of the box, you kind of figure there's something going on.
Right.
So that's why I think that's a light spoiler. Where that leads to is crazy, man.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's really good. If you have Shudder. Well, first of all, if you don't have Shudder and you're a horror fan, pony up and get Shudder. Believe it or not, Shudder's is really worth it.
Right.
You get to see Creepshow, the series, which has been killing it. Once again, when that series is over, we're going to do a full review of the series because we just don't want to spoil it for you guys. We'll do a full one as soon as the last episode 6 airs. We are only on episode 3 now, about to be 4 actually. I think 4 comes out this week, correct? Or is episode 3 called? Yeah, I think it's 4 this week. So when that completely ends, we will come back and talk about all 12 segments. And 6 episodes, 12 segments. That is Creepshow. Creepshow's on there. It's amazing. There's some other great stuff. There's classic horror movies on there. Once again, we watched the remastered version of Phantasm right on Shudder.
Yep.
And then, of course, there's a lot of exclusives. And believe it or not, this was one of the better exclusives I've ever seen. This did not leave a bad taste in your mouth, like Hell House LLC, the third one, Lake of Fire.
Yeah. This one, much better movie. Just again, it was a brutal movie. There's 2 things, that I gotta say that I am really starting to dig: Shudder exclusive movies and Australian horror movies.
Absolutely,
the Aussies know how to make some good horror.
They make some brutal horror.
Yeah,
movies,
they do.
I was, dude. There's
some of the deaths in this movie. I am not going to give anything away because I want you guys to watch it. Worth the watching,
dude.
Man.
I want so bad to give one of the deaths away. There is one particular brutal death. I will not give it away, but you need to see this movie. It is the only time I have seen this death.
Yeah.
And it is so uncomfortable to watch. It is so gruesome and graphic. The effect is perfect.
Oh, yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
Crazy. This movie is worth it and then some. If you have time on your hands, check out the Furies. Not the Furries, but the Furies. You can call it the Furries if you want. No matter what you call it, I call it good.
If you're expecting a My Little Pony movie, you're going to be sadly mistaken.
I didn't say bronies.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, now it's time. What would you give it? What is your score on this movie? Or do you want me to give mine first?
Go ahead and give yours first. Okay, I want to think about this for a second.
So my score on this movie, mind you, this is a Shudder exclusive. This movie was brutal. It was a slasher film, and as all you know at home know, I love my slasher films. There was a really cool story behind it, believe it or not. It wasn't like the story was not like incoherent or gone. So it was a slasher with an actual plot line, but it did not sacrifice blood. It did not sacrifice bodies. It did not sacrifice any of that to give you the plot line. It was congruent. I could stick with the story. I really like the acting. Even, sometimes you're watching a movie from a foreign place, like even though they speak English, like England or Australia, and sometimes you can get taken out by that presentation. Did not. You could understand what they were talking about. They didn't chuck it full of slang that you would not understand or anything like that. It was so good. I'm giving this movie an 8 out of 10.
Wow.
An 8 out of 10. It hit me in all the right good feels. Maybe I'm rating it a little higher from earlier experience. We'll talk about that some other time, but 8 out of 10. I think this is personally the best Shudder exclusive movie I've seen to date.
Yeah, I would give you that. I agree with that. Again, the kills in this, a lot of times when you see, and again, I don't want to give anything away, but the types of kills in this, you would expect the effects to kind of look like a movie we just talked about in our first segment, and that'd be the Hatchet movies where it's like over the top and kind of looks silly and this and that. These kills look like they were really happening.
Oh yeah, they were brutal.
Very realistic. So they had that. It had a very good production value, especially for a Shudder exclusive movie. Not that there's anything wrong. I don't want that to sound negative, but it's a growing company. You wouldn't expect something that's as new as it is to have such a good production value so quickly. Very, very good production value. I did think that the main characters, background, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more character build out of her, I think. I don't know that it necessarily needed it, but maybe a little bit more than a 2-minute opening.
But that end, though.
But the end, as I told you when we got done watching it, the end kind of happened quickly. It kind of ended a little bit abruptly for me, at least the climax of it. So I was kind of like, it wasn't bad. It could have been better.
But it left room for a sequel, which I would be definitely interested in seeing.
Yeah, it definitely will have a sequel. I would hope it will have a sequel, but it definitely leaves that open. I would give this... my gut is giving it a 6.5 out of 10. I think maybe because of the kills and the production value, I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
That's fine.
Which I think is still a very good score.
That's fine. I don't know. This has been the best slasher film I've seen in a while. Honestly,
I would go with Ready or Not for that, so that's...
I don't know. I love Ready or Not. I gave it a great score, but I didn't really think it was a slasher film. That's why I'm saying I thought it was a very good. It was a few different layers. I thought it was more of a dark comedy. Still love the movies. Not taking anything away from it, but I wouldn't call it a slasher film because it didn't have that element of that one killer, or in this case, multiple killers. But still, it didn't have the element of fear. Right. Because you're pretty much your heroine in that movie is fearless. The final girl's fearless, and she did a great job.
Yeah, she really did.
She takes the fight to them. This movie felt like your pure heart-to-heart slasher movie that would have fit right in the heyday in the golden era in 1980s, only it was modern, and they definitely sunk a budget into the effects. You will not be disappointed at all with any of the effects that you find in that movie.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen that movie made in like circa 1981. 1982, I think that it would have really been amazing if it was filmed back then. But they wouldn't have been able to do the effects like they did today.
Brother, that's why I gave it a high score, because I feel like this movie was a throwback and it was such a good movie.
Yeah.
And I once again, Shudder has great programming on.
Absolutely.
We've talked about this before.
Absolutely.
They have great programs, so it's not like I'm crapping on it by saying it's a Shudder exclusive, because there's other Shudder exclusives that were just as good. I mean, everybody lost their minds over Mandy. I mean, the Nicolas Cage movie, which is a very good horror movie. So I've
yet to see that still.
I have seen it. It is very good. I think you'll enjoy it. Believe me. I think you'll give it a higher grade. We'll review it sometime after you see it. I bet you'll give it a higher grade than I do.
Next double feature, Mandy.
And the movie.
And the one that we dropped the ball on.
We definitely dropped the ball. What did we drop the ball on?
So we have been plugging this movie for months, and it was finally, we didn't want to pay for it after the whole debacle of Leprechaun Returns, but Sci-Fi had a new movie that came out a couple of months ago, and it was the Banana Splits movie. Well, they finally premiered that on Saturday night this past week. I was out of town, so I ended up having to record it and haven't seen it yet, but we had it right there. We could have watched the Banana Splits movie.
We could have watched the Banana Splits movie.
Dropped.
You message. I got home and I get a message from Mike like, man, I messed up. We should have watched Banana Splits. I taped it the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, next time we'll have to plan one a little sooner.
Mandy, the Banana Splits movie.
I feel like that's the next.
You may want to skip Scaricon. Let's double feature.
I mean, I want to be at Scaricon. Don't get me wrong, but it does sound nice to sit on the couch, have another cup of hot cider, and watch a couple more horror movies. But we'll make it happen before the end of the month, I think.
Absolutely.
If not the beginning of November, because I would really like to see both of those movies.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think you'll really enjoy Mandy. I think you'll enjoy it more than I did, and I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy it. I did enjoy it, but I haven't
heard one negative review of the movie.
I think it's more up your alley.
Really?
See,
but the professor loved it. The professor loves that movie. I was like, okay, well, I don't like Nicolas Cage. He loves it.
I just want to point this out.
I'm not going to like it. Knowing the professor's taste, it is weird that he loved this movie. Really? And this is like one of his favorite movies.
The reason is because he's like the Hereditary, Midsommar,
and that's what I expected it to be like.
And this is not that movie.
Okay.
This is not that movie. So I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's very good. You like atmosphere, you like scores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This movie brings all that.
My cousin told me I would really like it.
And Nicolas Cage has found his like birth in horror movies. He's done some really good horror movies, and he works very good lately in horror movies. That Mom and Dad movie, super good with him and
there's no bees, are there? I don't want any bees. He didn't react well to the bees the last time.
So good. But yeah, next time that's going to be the double feature. You guys will hear about it. You guys will hear about the other part of the double feature next week. I promise. But I want to tie it in to my discussion because maybe some questions. I'm going to ask some questions. Let's put it that way. So when I do the review, I can actually say that I asked them the questions that I had for that movie, and then I can give the answer right here on this podcast.
Right,
you hear it here.
All right.
So it's kind of like almost like with the commentary on watching it.
Right.
So that's good stuff. So that's where we're at. So that's it for the review segment. That means we're going to take this next break. That's our last break, Mike. But when we come back, you know what time it is?
It's time to talk some horror.
And more importantly, it's time for Halloween Fest.
Woohoo!
So we'll be right back with Halloween Fest, week number 1 of 3. And we'll be right back.
Hey, it's Courtney Gaines, Malachi from Children of the Corn, and you're listening to Horror Zone 607.
It's everybody's favorite time of the week. It's right. It's time for Talking Horror. And even more importantly, it's time for Halloween Fest. Look at that. We're getting our nerdy on as we are getting our horror on.
I got fingers in the air.
I know. And we are also, more importantly, going to talk about one of the greatest franchises in the history of horror coming up right now. It is time that we dive headfirst into the Halloween movies. Now, you see, we could have done movie by movie, which we will do in the future, by the way.
Sure.
We will do movie by movie. But I love the idea, and I got to give Mike most of the credit. Mike is the one that came to me and said, hey, how do you feel about, because we're so busy in October, and we originally planned on doing something where we were going to do some bonus episodes where we were actually going to review all of the Halloween movies. We're not going to have time because we've been just busy at the cons. How do you feel about, let's do something different than everybody else. Let's go through and break it into categories and then talk about the movies in said categories.
Yeah.
And I said, that would be fantastic. So Mike came up with a format. He came up with a 3-week format. And Mike, the 3-week format, of course, we've already kind of said it. This week is Forgotten Halloween.
Yes.
We'll go into explanation. And then next week is...
I Hate Halloween.
Oh, yes. And then the final week will be...
One Good Scare.
One Good Scare. So basically for Forgotten Halloween, it works like this. It basically is the underrated Halloween movies, the unsung Halloween movies, if you will. And we will be discussing them here. And I mentioned before, we went to Twitter. We put up a poll. We said, hey, guys, comment, poll. Let's see what you guys think are your most underrated horror movies. And we got some pretty good turnout.
Yeah, we did.
And I'm going to give you the winners. So, because we put up 4 comments, and the one is 10. The other one is other, which was at 10%. Which we'll read some comments to get those others. But other had 10% in 4th place. In 3rd place with 20%, Halloween 4. In 2nd place with 30% of the vote, Halloween 2. The night he came back home. And last but certainly not least, the number 1 movie from the Twitterverse, from our friends on Twitter, at number 1, Halloween H2O.
Yeah,
It's the number 1 underrated Halloween movie. We had some comments, and in those comments, there's some other things. A lot of people were voting for Halloween 3, by the way.
Yeah.
Which made my heart happy.
Mine too.
Our friends at the Geeksploitation podcast said Halloween 3, it doesn't really belong in the franchise and is such an unusual fit left out. But it is an interesting flick and definitely worth watching. I agree with them completely, and
Absolutely.
actually a bunch of us were actually agreeing with them. The nerdy bitches responded Halloween 4, which they voted for that, was the first one I watched growing up, and I still think it's the best. Also, the only good one that I would say in the Jamie Lloyd series.
Absolutely.
And we'll go into that next week even more. The Happy podcast said Halloween 3 is the best film of the bunch. Then 78, 18, H2O, and Halloween 2 don't have much use for anything other than that, except for how amazing Danielle Harris looks and is as an actress. A shiny diamond and a very, very rough. He's a man after your own heart.
Yes, he is.
And last but certainly not least, the Beyond the Outer Rim podcast said, if I'm being honest, I really like Halloween 07. Of course, that's the Rob Zombie remake.
Yep.
It's a remake that at least is interesting. Tyler Mane was a great Michael Myers, and the violence was new with Rob Zombie. I'm a big fan of Halloween 3 as well, just for being unique with one of the best endings in horror history. So those were some comments.
I
As you can see,
comment.
a lot of Halloween 3 love. So how
all the comments.
How about we start with this? Because I'm sure Halloween 3 will come up and time again during these lists in different places from different people. And because I know both me and you like it, we've talked about it in this podcast. I said they should just start calling it Season of the Witch, because it's a great movie when you just call it Season of the Witch. So let's start there. A lot of people voted for Halloween 3.
Yes.
So that would be the fourth place space. Would you have put this on the list for Forgotten Halloween?
So yes, and one thing I want to point out is when I made the list, I actually did break it down. There's none of the movies are going to cross over into any of the 3 weeks. So whatever you hear this week, you're not going to be hearing it again next week or the following week.
Well, this one you might.
So
this one you might. This was just an added one from Twitter because I put other.
Well, Halloween 3 definitely made it. So here's the 3. I actually put 3 movies into this category so we could discuss the movies this week. So the original Halloween 2, Halloween 3, and Halloween H2O.
Oh, so this
they're
was
the 3 that made the list. Oh, yeah. They're
I'm just
on
saying,
there.
But because we're doing polls, they might come up.
In the polls that's fine, but in my actual list, they're only going to come up one time each in each week.
So since you were prepared for Halloween 3, throw it in there.
Yeah, so Halloween 3, as everybody knows that listens to the show or knows me, people can say whatever they want to say about this. Yes, it is not about Michael Myers. It's the only movie in the entire series that's not about Michael Myers. That being said, I don't care what anybody says. It's got the title Halloween in it. It's Halloween 3. I still have always said, and I agree with you, you say this all the time too, the same thing. If they had just called it Season of the Witch, we'd be talking about one of the great horror movies of that generation or possibly ever. Of all of the Halloween movies, that one to me feels a little bit more Halloween-y than any of them. You got the masks and, people out trick-or-treating and stuff like that. And for some reason, I don't know what it is about the movie, but just something about the atmosphere of it. It's every year I watch this movie during the Halloween season, during the October season. Is it overlooked? Absolutely, because it's the redheaded stepchild of the series. So, it's too bad that it's overlooked, but it is a forgotten gem. And people that haven't seen it or wrote it off years ago, give it another watch. This movie's a classic.
I love Halloween 3. And actually, believe it or not, I think it is getting a second life as of late. Because if you
has a
go
cult
around
following.
there's a big cult following. It's not just a cult following. There's a lot of people who were crapping on that movie who are now giving it a second chance. Like I said, I think people are finally realizing that if you take away the specter of Michael Myers and you watch it as a horror movie, it is a very, very good horror movie.
With a great Halloween background atmosphere
Yes,
to it.
absolutely. So I think there's that, and then I'm a big fan of the storyline.
Yeah.
So what were the other two you had?
So
and
yeah,
I'm hoping the one that won is one of them.
Well, it wasn't so much that I was doing like a winner takes all or anything
I'm just
like
saying
that.
we did have a winner though.
In the poll, we did. In the poll, that was more just for fun, and we're going to keep doing that week in and week out.
Yeah.
But I just more wanted to just discuss these films because they're forgotten.
No, I got you. I'm just saying. I hope that the winner is one of these films. Oh, it seems like it was very popular. I don't know. It could be. It could not be.
Oh yeah.
So what's the next movie on the list after Halloween 3?
Well, we're going to talk about Halloween 2.
Halloween
the original
2,
Halloween
okay.
2, the 1981 classic.
By the way, got the second most amount of votes.
Yeah.
So it's working out here.
So it's more from the night he came home, as we all know. It picks up directly after the first movie ends. Went to great lengths to try to make it feel and look, like it actually was filmed back to back with that movie, even though it was 3 years later. My personal opinion of this movie, half of the movie I love. I love the fact, and we've talked about this on air before. I love when they go back and they film a horror movie sequel in the same locations that its predecessor was filmed in. So they went back to Pasadena and Los Angeles, and they did film. The Wallace house was there, the Doyle house was there, the Myers house was there, the same streets that the girls walked in the beginning of the movie, and then Michael Stockton throughout the movie is there. So I really dig that. Personally, I think it kind of goes downhill a little bit once it gets to the hospital, even though there's some good suspense there and everything. But it was just kind of. Once it gets to the hospital. But I still dig the movie. It's a classic. I think Halloween 3 is the better film between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
They used one of the masks that Nick Castle actually had on in the original movie. Somehow, I don't know if it was the lighting in the movie or just Dick Warlock had a big head. But the mask didn't look quite the same. It looked just kind of different in this movie. There's a couple scenes where it kind of pops up, and I think it's more the lighting than anything that makes it look different. But so I don't know. I'm not terribly fond of the mask, the way it looks in this movie.
By the way, there is a NECA Halloween 2 figure that just came out. Mm-hmm. They even put in the one with the blonde hair.
Really?
Yes.
So Ben Tramer.
Yes, but no, not Ben Tramer. Because if you notice, there's a scene famously in this when you get in the school. There's the school scene.
Oh, that's Halloween 4.
No, there's one shot in this one where it's a different mask when Luma sees him.
Oh, well, Michael's not in the school. There's like a implied scene that he's in the school in Halloween 2.
Yeah.
But he's in the school and it's got there's blonde hair. That's Halloween 4.
Yeah, no, this one also had one that was with blonde hair because it's inside the NECA figure. So
yeah, the blonde hair one was Ben Tramer's mask. He's walking across the street and the police car hits him and plows him into the ambulance.
I remember that,
Which incidentally, a buddy of mine, his name is Dennis. I work with him. Whenever we're getting killed at work or we're just having a bad day, we're just like, could be Ben Tramer. We're getting Tramered. So it's kind of turned into an inside joke that we do have. But the movie overall, I love Halloween 2, or really like it. I shouldn't say I love it. I really do like it. I just, I kind of wish that the whole or half of the movie or the majority of the film didn't take place inside the hospital, but they kind of confined it that way. Kind of give it a claustrophobic feel. But a great movie, and it's one of those that's kind of become forgotten. Everybody remembers the original. You're never going to beat that. Now everybody's high on 2018. Everybody seems to love Halloween 4. Because it's a great sequel. So Halloween 2 has kind of been overshadowed over the years.
No, that's surprising. I mean, I like Halloween 2. I don't like it as much as Halloween 3. But it is definitely in my top percentile of Halloween because it is just much like other movie franchises of the horror genre. There is a big dive in between like the good ones and the bad ones. This one, Halloween 2, is always one of on the better half, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it has all the looks and feels of the original one for the most part. Again, there's different things. The hospital kind of gets to me after a while because they're in there for too long, and the mask bothers me a little bit, even though it's the exact same mask that Nick Castle did wear in the original. There's a drop off between the two, but it does have all the looks and feels, and to me it looks like they filmed the two back to back. One of the things that always bothers me about this, and I know a lot of people dig it, the original Halloween theme, the score, is so classic. It's one of the creepiest, if not the creepiest, score that there's ever been. I do not like the synthesized version of it in Halloween 2. That has always bothered me.
So the 8-bit version that I used for this show, not a fan?
I do like that. It's fun. I feel like I'm playing a Nintendo game circa 1987.
It should have been the Halloween Nintendo game.
It should have been.
If that would have happened, that would have been the music. Just throwing it out there.
If that comes out on the PS5,
yes,
that should be the theme song for it. So, yeah, I don't know. There's the good with the bad with Halloween 2. But again, very overshadowed, and it's still... Is it a classic? I think it is.
Yeah, I would say it was.
Great era.
Yeah,
great year that it came out.
Definitely 1981, the year that changed horror.
Yes. So there's one other movie that's making our list here, and it was the winner of your poll. Thank goodness. So I'm glad that it's on here too, and that's the criminally underrated Halloween H2O, in my opinion.
Phenomenal movie.
Really good.
Phenomenal movie.
I have my qualms with it. I think we've discussed it before.
I was going to say there can't be many qualms with it. It's really a very good movie. It's damn. It's not. I wouldn't say perfect, but it's damn near a great story
compared to Halloween 2017, which, in my opinion, those two movies are both.
You mean 2018?
2018. Excuse me. They're kind of the same thing.
Almost the same thing. It's a very similar theme.
Our good friend Luke always said when they first announced what was going to be happening with this, he goes, "So they're remaking Halloween H2O?"
Well, it's 40 years later, so it was H40.
Yes,
that's what they should have just called.
That's originally, I think, what they were calling it.
Yeah, something like that.
So, the biggest issues with Halloween H2O, one, it's kind of a product of its time. It was one of the first Dimension Halloween films that came out.
So you're saying you didn't like those new metal overtones in the music in the soundtrack?
I mean, it had Creed, which was, I don't have a problem with that. Creed's first album.
But I want to point this out. It didn't have the good Creed score, because the good Creed score was for Scream 3.
Yeah.
Because they had that What If song.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I don't know. It wasn't so much that. It just kind of had that slick look to it. The masks, everybody knows that movie had problems with the masks. So, that was rough. The main one that you do see throughout most of the movie, I don't have too much of a problem with. The opening scene where Nurse, what's her name?
Maggie?
No.
Is it
Nancy?
Mark?
We talked about her last week, too.
Sorry.
Anyways, she gets killed off. They actually use the same mask from Halloween 6. And I actually don't mind the mask from Halloween 6. I think it's one of the better ones throughout the history. 4 had a bad mask. 5 had a really bad mask. H2O had several bad masks in it. But I think that Halloween 6 had a pretty good mask. And I don't know why they didn't go with it, especially since it was used early on it was Marion Chambers, by the way.
Yeah.
It just came to me, the nurse. But anyways,
I suppose I said M.
Yeah. So, one of the problems that I have is they took it completely out of Haddonfield. The opening scene takes place in a different town in Illinois, but it's brief. It's just the opening thing, and then the rest of the movie takes place in California.
Because he needed to get that information,
Right.
Just think about it. He goes and steals the file.
Right. I just kind of wish that maybe it would have been filmed quote-unquote closer to Illinois, but I get why they did it. I just kind of missed Haddonfield in it. But they did film it closer to where it was originally filmed to begin with. Yeah.
So there's that.
Right, but they come right out and they say it's in California.
Right, but I'm saying, but it was originally filmed in Pasadena. Well,
I don't even know if they mentioned Haddonfield.
I love it. I'm like Haddonfield was in Pasadena, California.
Well, yeah.
So technically,
right.
If you go by real life,
but I don't even know if they mentioned the name Haddonfield in the movie.
But you didn't have to. The story was here's where I go with it. The story was based around the fact that she faked her own death to get away because she was always scared that he was going to come back and he was going to find her. Well, he comes back and finds her. And I thought it was interesting to not do like some real weird supernatural, he just shows up gimmick. The fact that he actually goes, breaks in, steals a file, and then drives to California.
Right. And at least that makes sense. It's coherent.
I actually like the fact that it was a real story.
Yeah. And I dig that too. Again, I don't want it to sound like I'm like, completely stomping all over this movie, because this was the first one I saw. I was afraid of horror movies, and the girl I was dating at the time is the whole reason I'm into them now. She made me go see this with her. This was the first one I saw, and not long after that, I actually ended up finally going through and watching the original, and then 2, and then actually 4 and 5, working my way through. But I think that the 3 biggest issues with this movie is, 1, the masks. Everybody knows, again, there was issues with the mask. 2, I did not like that they decided to completely throw out the Jamie Lloyd story. There was actually something in the original script. It was brief, but Jamie Lee looks at a picture of her daughter and starts to cry. So there was actually a reference to Jamie Lloyd being a part of it, and they just decided to get rid of it. So at that point, it became a choose your own adventure in the Halloween series. The biggest problem that I have with the movie, where you could have fit that in, and you probably could have fit some of Haddonfield in and a little bit more story, because it was just too quick. The movie's only something like an hour and 15 minutes long, maybe an hour and 20 minutes long. It was very short, shortest one in the whole series. This movie could have benefited from an extra half hour. And there was some really cool stuff in the original script where they could have used that time to fit that in, and it would have been a better story. That being said, it's one of my favorite sequels in the whole series. I do believe, especially now that the Halloween 2018 is out, it's really kind of gotten pushed to the background, and people are just like, "Oh, it's not a good movie." Well, yes, it is. It was a great story. It had a great story, and it was great to bring Jamie Lee back, who hadn't been there in 20 years. She hadn't been a part of it in 20 years. Her character was supposedly dead. And, that was the first time that she was supposedly dead. She died a couple times and came back to life in 2018. But, it really was a good story. And I think it's a better story than what was told in 2018.
I will agree with you, because I'm a big fan of H2O. I don't know. I like the fact that it was shorter. I don't like it when they drag things out for the sake of dragging it out. I'm not sure that, if you add in more, would it necessarily make it better? You got to remember, this is the only the only Halloween movie that has like a super good cast. I mean, you have Josh Hartnett in the movie. You have Michelle Williams in the movie.
Yeah.
Both of them went on to have pretty
Big
good
careers.
And of course, Michelle Williams is now, an
Academy Award
winner. And, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis is back. Like, LL Cool J's in this movie.
Yeah.
And LL Cool J's a really good actor, in my opinion. I'm a
I
fan of his
dug
work.
him a lot in that movie.
Especially in that
Better than
movie.
Busta Rhymes.
Absolutely. So, like, I look at it like this. I look at that movie and I go, wow, they had a great cast, which never happened in a Halloween movie before. No, if you can go back through time in the Halloween movies, there was never, like, a phenomenal cast. I mean, I guess the original to an extent.
Original, yeah.
But there was a lot of unprovens that just happened to be really good.
Halloween 4, I think, is actually probably the best cast.
You think so?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think H2O. Look at
Danielle
who's on
Harris.
this cast.
Well, I'm just saying the way that they acted in it. Danielle Harris and Rachel. I don't know, Ellie Cornell.
Yeah.
I think the two of them really carried that movie very, very well.
I'm not saying that they didn't. I didn't think I was. But
talking big names in Hollywood.
Yeah,
Adam Arkin.
Yeah.
Adam Arkin was hot at that point.
Yeah. But once again, that movie had all these people in it. And of course, the two of them went on to be very big stars. And they don't shun the movie either. That's the best part about it. They don't shun the movie because the movie's actually good. I dug the movie. I dug the story. I love the fact of one of the scariest things in that movie is when he lowers himself with one arm from the ceiling.
Yeah,
that is it's phenomenal. And
they
then
tried
of course
to recreate that
they
resurrection.
They went on to recreate that. But yes, that's the first time we ever seen him do that. I even love the ending. I mean, I hated the retcon of it in the resurrection, but I love the ending of the movie.
It was supposed to finally.
Yeah, she lops his fucking head off, and it's great. It
probably should have ended there.
Right, and then they retconned it in Resurrection, and I'm sure we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah,
but that kind of sucked.
Yeah, little spoiler. We will be talking about that next week.
I was going to say, if you didn't think that movie was going to be on the list of bad.
I hate Halloween. Yeah.
So I've always been a fan. Halloween H2O is up there in the top part of my list.
Mine too.
It's usually falls in number 2, I do believe. I always say that usually it's the original Halloween 1978 and then H2O. I love those movies, both of them. Obviously, there is a gap between them because you have, in my opinion, I've said this before on this program, Halloween, the original 78, is the most damn near perfect movie to ever exist, especially in horror.
Oh yeah.
It's the only movie, like it's one of the movies that gets the highest rating I can give a movie. Because I don't believe in giving 10s, as we all know.
Right.
So 9.5 is pretty much the highest you will ever get because I just don't believe that there's ever going to be a perfect movie. Halloween has a 9.5. It joins things like Jaws and also The Exorcist, and and there's a few others, but it joins those. That's the list in horror at least, and then it joins. There's a list in other movies. It's just it's a great movie. There was a lot of good things, and it started the slasher craze. It was the kickoff. It was the whistleblow, if you will, for the golden age. Because without Halloween, we don't get Friday the 13th. Without Friday the 13th, we don't get 1981, which is a panel at Scaricon that I'm not unfortunately doing. But we will talk about on this show. We've talked about the movies of 81, but I want to get into a deep discussion eventually on this show. Maybe it'll be coming up after the month of October, where 1981. I came up with this panel, and unfortunately somebody else is going to be doing it. I know they're going to do a great job at Scaricon, but I wish I was on that panel and you were there. Instead, I'll be doing, actually, I think Phantasm at the same time that's going on.
Yeah.
But I want to do something on this show with that, because 1981 really was the year that changed horror. We kind of had this discussion the other night. And without Halloween, 1978, none of that happens. I mean, I know we're not supposed to be talking about it. And then without H2O, I don't know. That H2O was the best sequel that ever happened to Halloween, in my opinion. And so for some reason, it gets overlooked. And I don't know why. I
think that it's for the reasons that I just said, really, more than anything. I think that the masks, people are just so nitpicky about that, and I get it, because I'm critical of the masks and some of them too, but it's not like it took away from the plot of the movie.
I don't think it took away anything from the movie.
Again, I wish that they hadn't thrown out the Jamie Lloyd story, because I liked where it started anyway, with part 4. I still thought, although part 5 is a really shaky movie, Danielle Harris carried the movie.
I want to point this out. I really believe that the reason they threw it out was because they had to wash the stank of part 6 off of them.
Yeah, more than likely that's exactly what it was. But, they could have retconned that movie.
Well, Mike, we're going to come into it. So we're going to, next week will be I Hate Halloween. We will put up a poll. So it will be up in the next couple days. You'll see the poll up there. Please vote in the poll. That'll be on Twitter at Horror Zone 607. Check it out. Vote in it. Make comments because you'll hear them right here on the show. Trust me, we'll have a comprehensive list. It's nice to know that the poll ended up the same way that we ended up. So that's always a good bonus there. And with that being said, it's time. That's it for this week's edition
already
of Halloween Fest. I just want to get some of that 8-bit goodness in there one more time.
We're dancing again.
That's right. Get it, Mike.
I'm throwing bows.
All right. So that's it for this week's Halloween Fest. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And that means we're also kind of coming to the end of the show. Before we go, I already mentioned Twitter. Hit us up on Twitter. Definitely for sure, because that poll is going to be up at HorrorZone607. Check that poll out. If you don't already, find us on Instagram as well, at HorrorZone607 for there as well. Also, Facebook, HorrorZone607. Check it out. We got a lot of stuff going on in all those. Make sure you're following and liking, sharing, spreading that word out there for us, We're growing and we keep growing, and it's all because of you guys. I know you're listening. We're having a great time, so thank you so much for doing that.
Tell a friend.
Yes, tell a friend. Bring more people involved.
We should start like a referral bonus or something.
So, but it's always a good time. And we're very appreciative of you guys. And you guys are obviously helping us grow because we keep growing. But continue to do so because that's awesome. You guys are the front line, and that's pretty cool stuff. Also, visit 8122productions.com. We got reviews up there. You can find out what we're doing as a whole. You can see stuff from the Three Fat Nerds, my other podcast. You can also just see, the reviews and everything for Horror Zone 607. There's also a Friends of the Show page. Big shout outs to our friends over at the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, the ODPH. You can find them right there. Click on that. I'll take them over there. Of course, there are hashtag 607 podcast brethren. You can also find links for Shot at the Robots. Pretty soon I'll have Floodlands links up there as well. Those are local bands who you'll hear their music during our breaks a lot of times. You might not even realize it's their music, but you hear it during the breaks, and it's awesome. As a matter of fact, we are going to end this show with a brand new Floodlands. Oh, no, we're not doing that this week. Sorry. That's actually tomorrow night. We're going to end this with the Professor's music.
Oh, I like it.
Professor's music is amazing. Sorry, I forgot. I'm already I was bad there. The first episode of 3FNW will be ending with a brand new Floodlands song at the end of it. But no, today it was the Professor. So if you love, I was gonna say, if you love the Horror Zone theme, that is the Professor. Just throwing out there.
He does our music.
He does that, and he does
our theme songs.
He also did if you remember Sci-Fi Horror Fest, that plug line was actually the Professor song as well. So just throwing that out there. Sorry, I'm confusing my shows. It's been a long week, Mike. You can tell I'm tired,
and it's only Tuesday.
I know. You can check out all sorts of things on 8122productions.com though, so visit that and check it out. And that's all I got, Mike.
All right, thanks, Rich. Well, I want to thank you for being in the studio with me again this week. Another good show. We'll fist bump this because it was a great conversation this week. I want to thank you guys, the listeners, week in and week out. You're the reason that we're here. You're the reason we're doing the show. So thank you so much for downloading and listening to us on all your favorite formats. We will be back in the studio next week talking a whole lot of horror and bringing you the week's biggest news. So for Rich, I am Mike C. saying, see ya!